find your way back home. Find your way back home.
Hello everyone, hopefully you can hear me right now. My name is Rob and it is May 9th, Thursday, May 9th, 2024, coming back at you with a live coding stream. How about that? I think I got my camera set up a little bit better. It's really weird though. It's going through HDMI, but when I hit record, the quality looks better. Check this out. Stopped recording. Oh, it's not gonna happen. Okay, resolution got worse. Hit record on it, and it gets better. Good morning, Coco Dono. What up, Oscar's Perspective? Can you hear me okay? Audio okay? Music isn't overlapping or anything with it too much. So, folks, last week, I announced the winner of our GPU 4080 Super giveaway. It's still here. I got to mail it out. Where is it? But the winner has been notified and they're being mailed this. We also launched a competition to see who would win. Who could complete a challenge on Crucible. And we did have a winner on that. So congrats to the winner. They will be sent the second GPU. So 2 GPUs being mailed out this week to viewers. You got to watch. You got to follow along. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on all these GPUs, right? Another GPU can't get. Code to Compass. Why can't you get it? Why can't you get this GPU? Why not? Why not you? All you had to do was sign up. We got Batsing on the chat. So let me share my screen. Make sure this is going to look okay. Yeah, let's try to switch over to this view. Hopefully this looks okay. Got the chat here. Move this a little bit over. There we go. So I don't have much of a plan for tonight. I thought I could just test some stuff out since it's been a while since I streamed, and I want to make sure that I can get back into the groove here. So I'm going to let you guys choose what we do. Let's go over to the Twitch stream info. Put this over here. I think I can do infinite me's. I think I can do poll. New poll. What should we work on tonight? Basic Python coding. Create a data set and explore. It won't give me enough text to say explore. So if you're not on Twitch right now, Rob Codes Live is the URL, is the Twitch channel. So I'm going to put that here. Hello, Rob. Wait, what did you say? Hello, Rob. I want to ask that learning data analytics and data science both consequently is a good idea or not. Please answer. They're very closely related. So usually in analytics, you're more viewing, exploring the data. Once you get into data science, it's like making decisions based off the data, usually through creating models. So there's a lot of analytics skills that are important for data science, and a little bit vice versa. So Let's go into my Twitch stream projects repo. What else did people say? Hello, Rob. Today is my first interview as a role for data analysis. Can you suggest me some good ways to represent myself? Good job, Hinduism. Congrats on your interview. I'd say at this point, you know, I took a few exams in my day where I studied with friends for months, like a engineering, professional engineering license class. And we just studied for months, got ready for it. But then the day before, they said not to try to cram. The best thing you can do is just get a good night's sleep. So my suggestion for you is if you're nervous about it and you have it coming up soon, hopefully you still have time to sleep. Get a good night's sleep in. That's the most important thing. You're not going to cram anything in the last hour that you wouldn't know otherwise. I don't know why the heck I follow you. What is going on? I'm sorry if you're following me and you don't want to watch this video. Click that little X in the corner of the window and it will close out this video and you will not have to watch it. Where do you get all these GPUs? I got them from NVIDIA. Yo, Rob. Hey, Vanilla JS. It's been a while. Welcome. Let's have some data visualization battles. What about that? Data visualization battle? That sounds amazing. Data viz battles? I don't even know what that would look like, but I'm going to put that on the thing to vote for. Yeah. Hey, Daniel. What's up?
Can I just sit and watch you for a little bit? Is that alright?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Daniel's going to sit and watch.
I'm bored.
This is my son, Daniel. He wants to sit and watch. Technically speaking, data analytics is a feature of broader concept of data science. I don't know if there's a technical thing to it, Vanilla. Hey, you were thinking wrong. Hey there, ho there. David J. Jackson. We got Diego here. Hi, Daniel. Hey, you have a fan. Hi, Daniel. It's Rujin. Oh no, that's why he's got friends from school watching. I don't like this overlap of real world and streaming. It's making my head hurt.
You want me to go away?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
You can hang out. Are you cool there? You'll be like my sidekick.
I don't understand any of this, but it's cool.
Okay. They can't hear you too, probably, unless he's speaking to the mic.
Okay.
This is fun though. Like we challenge each other to draw specific charts and stuff. Okay. If there's enough people watching to do data viz battles, we can do that. Strong Dan. Daniel seems nice, fun, and cool. And he wants to hang out with his dad, which is 100 plus points in my opinion. Cool. Do you have experience coding in R? I'm a data analyst, and for me, it's much more intuitive than Python for data cleaning modeling. Yeah, in school, I did both R and Python. It was kind of a mix between the two in my master's program. But in practice, Python's kind of taken over. So I've almost 100% worked with Python. Someone says time series. Time series. I don't know what that even means. Ask Daniel what we should do on stream tonight. What do you think we should do?
I think you should do, instead of doing a poll, I think you should do like a big wheel.
Oh, instead of a pole, do a wheel?
You should have like you should have one of those wheels where you like spin it and it lands on a random.
Oh, like the picker wheel?
Yeah.
But I use this. The thing is, I use this for when I get a subscriber, and if I do it now, then it's gonna mess it up.
Oh, wait, can't you create another one though? Just like open a different tab.
Create a new one.
Yeah.
I like letting people have an opinion, because otherwise it's just the randomness. What if it lands on a thing that everyone hates?
That's true. That makes sense.
All right, as long as I convinced you. I'm already awake. It's EST time 0, and I'm in India. EST, so it's not EST time. Rob, I have one question. Is MongoDB important in analytics role? Because I haven't prepared for it. It kind of depends on what you're doing, but I don't know that much about MongoDB either, so don't worry about it. What did you graduate in? So I got a master's degree in data science, information and data science, but I studied electrical engineering also. He already has better ideas than his dad, people are saying. Time series analysis for forecasting. Oh, whoa. A lot of people want time series, so that's on the list. Flask. Someone wants Slap. Is doing MS in data science in Germany good? I don't know. I'm not from Germany, but it was good for me to do it here in the US. Having a degree on your resume is always a pretty good thing, don't you think, Daniel? Do you have any advice for recent graduates struggling to get interviews? I will say it's very hard when you're first getting started to get that first interview. Try to network. Go to local or like meetups or online meetups. Try to get to know people. Try to make a name for yourself and a portfolio on GitHub. And then once you get that first interview or first job, then it gets a lot easier because then from there you can have that on your resume and it'll be much easier to get interviews going on. Give me a shout out. I'm Daniel's friend. Okay, Brandon. Hey, yo. Do you have a...
That was the kid who, he wrote a paragraph.
He wrote a paragraph trying to get a GPU?
Yeah, he was trying to get a GPU and he wrote a paragraph about it.
We got people just begging for GPUs around here. Daniel, give me a shout out, Greg. I'm David. Someone named Greg says I'm David. That makes a lot of sense. I think that most of the people on this are just your friends. Isn't it bedtime already? That's what I'm saying. I usually start this when everyone's asleep. Kaggle competition, someone says. Okay, which Kaggle competition? Okay, so if you're not on Twitch, this is how you're going to vote. So I'm going to put this in the chat. That's where you need to go and have an account in order to vote on this. You should have exploratory data analysis. This will be create data set EDA. Let's make that a little bit of both. I'm Daniel's friend Charles. Charles is named Doug on this.
I don't know.
Why all the names like messed up? It's so confusing. I Daniel's dad. Oh man. This has gone way downhill. Or uphill. Uphill, maybe. Teach you all about data science. Wait, why is Jenny here? Who's Jenny? All right, I'm going to start this poll.
What?
Oh, Daniel's getting in trouble.
Okay. I have to go now.
Bye.
Bye.
That was a fun
That was like...
guest. I think you could be like, if like Jimmy Kimmel has a sidekick. What's his name? Guillermo? You could be like my Guillermo.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, bye. See ya.
Bye, have fun. Daniel gets up. Oh, do you have swim tomorrow? At like 4 a.m.?
No.
Oh, yeah, afternoon. Oh, yeah, you have a meet. Okay. Get out of here. Get out of here. Whoa! Kaggle competition is winning. All right, so we're off to the races. Create data set in EDA is in second. No, wait. Basic Python coding is in second place. Kaggle competition is in first place with 8 votes, but there's still plenty of time. Unironically, I could tell you are a good dad. I try. Some days are better than others. Mother's Day's on Sunday, people. Just giving you that reminder. Mother's Day is on Sunday, so don't forget to thank your moms. If it's a time of year where it's a hard time for you because maybe you don't have your mom around, I mean, I feel for you, and I pray that you get through it. But for those of us that do have our mothers around still, give them a hug. Tell them you love them. Wasn't it this past week? No, Crouch. It's this upcoming Sunday. That's so bad. Most people want the Kaggle competition. Not many votes are coming in. Oh, in Spain it was. Okay. Country differences. Yeah, I'm talking about the USA. All right, so since Kaggle competition is at the top of the list, let's look at the competitions because it's been a while since I've taken a look at these. El Dia de Madre. Those of you who voted for Kaggle competition, which Kaggle competition? Tell me in the chat, which Kaggle competition should we look at? I haven't been spending that much time on Kaggle these days. Have you ever gotten your head stuck in a chair on a first date? I can't say I have. Could you start with an overview of what makes a good Kaggle competition? The one from past stream. Oh, okay, we're talking about this one. LMSYS. Okay, we can look at that one. What about that video for Dagon I'm Stuck? What is Dagon I'm Stuck? Rings a bell, I think. All right, what's the voting going on? Oh, view results. Still going on. No one's voting anymore. So we're going to have to go back into this LMSYS competition. Let's see what the leaderboard looks like. First place is at 9.973. So to answer someone's question about what makes a good Kaggle competition, it really depends what sort of stuff you're interested in. So Kaggle has evolved a lot over the years, kind of like how data science in general has evolved. There's a lot less competitions with just straight up CSV files where you're trying to just create features with raw tabular data. And the competitions are more LLM focused or deep learning focused. So for a lot of people, that's not their favorite thing. And you're kind of just left to whatever Kaggle competitions get launched. I like a lot of signal processing competitions. I find those very fun. I also kind of enjoy the ones that have like GPS data. Those ones are kind of fun. Yeah, something tabular usually is fun, but you can't really choose what they are. So this one is definitely NLP based. It has all the results from the Chatbot arena, which if you're not familiar with, let's just make sure we confirm. Yes, the official result was to look at a Kaggle competition. So we are LMSYS, Chatbot arena. If you just search Chatbot arena, it'll take you here. And it's a place where you can ask a question like you would any LLM. And then you have two options to choose from, Model A or Model B, and it's a blind test, so you don't know which model is creating the answer. What is the best website to live stream on and why? So this will give us two different answers. We choose one, we get the results. Then it tells us which one is better, or which model created the answer that we thought was better and worse. And it's a way of kind of ranking the models based on their output. Blind test. What we found, so this competition is basically we're given a bunch of these pairs of answers to questions, and we need to choose which one, or we need to create a model that can predict which answer a person will choose. Oh, look, someone released more conversations. So that means there's more data that is rated. Where did this person get this data? It's from the authors themselves. Ooh, what if it's a leak to the private data set? The format was quite different when being used in this competition. I've processed it. Update. Using the prompts column as deduplication criteria brings the same sample count to around 21K. The data set and script have been updated. So it's not 33K, it's 21K. This is one of the reasons why joining competition too early sometimes can be frustrating, because so much changes in the first weeks and things are discovered that you can just come in a little bit late and read discussion threads and kind of catch up on it. But at the same time, it is kind of nice to get it in real time, because otherwise it can be a little bit overwhelming to try to take on at once. Someone said, hi from Istanbul. Welcome. Do your Olga have blue unibrow or red? What? All right, so we're going to dive into this. Let's see what we looked at the leaderboard. The top public leaderboard score is 0.973. We created just a baseline submission when I submitted not too long ago. It was last week. That was 1.097. So there isn't a huge gap in terms of this number, but maybe it's really hard to get to 0.973. We don't know. There's a lot of people at this 1.004. That's usually a good indicator that maybe someone has a public notebook that they've released that it has that score. So let's go over to the code section of this competition and look at the best public score. Yeah, and there's a baseline that someone made 4 days ago, which scores 1.004. We can jump off of what they've done. And we can kind of go off of that. Okay, so let's just fork this notebook and see what they've done differently. What's the best coding hack you have? I don't know. Lorenzo, what's up? Thanks for watching. We're going to do some coding. All right, so LMSYS baseline. Live streaming data science. We're going to, what should we do? We're going to, number one, look through the baseline notebook. Number two, make sure we understand everything it's doing. And number three, think of maybe EDA of the results. And then number four is we can try to improve it. I don't know if we're going to get that far, but we can try. Any advice for learning data science that you would for yourself, for your younger self? Just get started early. Just get it started as early as you can. All right, so they're checking to see if this workspace exists. Let's see if they're running with the GPU on. Session options. It does have a P100 GPU, so there may be some deep learning involved in this solution. So this is basically just their way of checking to see if they're running locally or if they're running in the Kaggle environment. If we ls in the Kaggle environment, why isn't it showing us? Oh, there's nothing. If we ls the / directory, the root directory, there is no workspace. So that makes this Kaggle true, and then it's printing Kaggle because there is no workspace folder. Try to import pandas. If that doesn't work, then they have the installing a bunch. It should just import pandas find. I don't like this formatting at all, like the way this is written. It's very hard to read for me. It's setting a data directory. Since we're not in run pod, it's not gonna look for this. This Kaggle JSON is gonna be the credentials for working remotely. Basically, I think this is just setting the data directory, which if we look here, it's gonna be Kaggle input LMSYS chatbot arena. That's our input path. Our model path, which we have none models yet. And it's going to print the model path. Setting a lot of files in directory. I am not a fan. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of when packages are ordered in this way? From the smallest length to the longest, or vice versa? I'm not a big fan of it because it does not group the imports necessarily with similar imports. So data science is cool. What is going on in that code? Why so many routes? It's just a complicated way of setting paths, because the person who wrote this code may be running it on a different machine, and if that happens, then they have to create directories or point the code into different directories. But since we're running in a Kaggle environment, I think things are pretty simple. Staircase, not a fan. Okay, a lot of people not. Well, order alphabetically. I don't know if I'm even up for ordering alphabetically. To me, like ordering by maybe the way it's used or the different types, like pandas, NumPy, and Matplotlib should all be together. These actually aren't in that bad of an order, but things like OS, like base imports, should go first, in my opinion. Also, you gotta make sure all these are actually being used. Now, here are all the imports for PyTorch. So they're allowing for 32-bit floats. They're loading a data loader. We also have PyTorch Lightning here, which is used kind of to facilitate the training of the model. Pepe and Use Python Style Guide both have recommended import preferences. Yeah, I know that rough, rough Python formatter will complain about the imports orders too. Importing transformers and tokenizers and printing their versions. All right, now we've gotten to the point where we're reading our train and test data set. If we remember, our train data set is 57,000 examples that are labeled. They look like this, where you have the prompt. So let's just look at one example. So if we look at this first example, we have this prompt. Is it morally okay to try a certain percentage of females' marginal positions? Okay, does pineapple belong on a pizza? Relax and give me a fun answer. Very confusing question. But then we can look at answer A. So it's model A. This is the answer from one of the model. Oh, that's the name of the model. Model B. Now we can't use these model names in our modeling. You can't use the model in our model because we don't know this model A and B name when we're actually predicting for the test set. So the response A, this tells us what the response looks like. Maybe if we eval this. Look at the first value. Yeah, so this is like what the answer looked like for model A. Similarly, the response for model B was like this. Shorter result. I'm guessing the person chose the longer one, because what we found last week when we were looking at this data, the longer response wins most of the time. Yeah. So the longer one did win. Model A has a 1 in the column, and that means that that model was selected as the winner by the user. Essentially, they preferred response A over response B. What did we look at last time? This baseline? No, this data analysis we looked at last time. And we did some analysis of the lengths of the outputs and how it correlates with which one was selected. And we came to this conclusion. We bucketed the length differential between the two models' output. And we found a really strong trend that when the outputs are exactly the same length, it's very commonly a tie. But other than that, the longer prompt usually wins. Someone said, I forgot everything. You separate into 3 groups of 1, native libraries, 2, local packages, 3, third-party external. I like that way of doing it too. Standard libs first, third-party second, project imports last. Okay. If you know Django and React, I would be able to develop AI products. You definitely could develop something that interacts with the AI product using auto format. Got some people from Peru. What's up, Sebastian? Standard structure for data science projects, or do you have a structure? I've kind of developed a structure over the years, but there is no standard one that I know of, at least. There are some like cookie cutter data science project setups out there, but you kind of just have to use what works best for you and your team. Usually when you work on a team, that's where standardization comes. I found that the longest answer is correct on multiple choice tests is more often than it should be. Okay. Test writers often spend as much time writing wrong answers. Yeah, so this could be a case of lazy people. Granted, they're just people using this website for fun. But, okay, we asked this question. I asked this question on LMSYS. I guess it deleted my prompt. But I asked something about which is the best place to stream online. Best website to live stream and why. Now, are you going to sit here and read all of these? No, I don't really have time to read all of this. It would be kind of boring if I read this in detail on Twitch and then I made notes about which answer was better and how it mentioned each. But it does look like the right one is longer. And it has a little bit better formatting, like under YouTube Live. This is why I think the LLMs are tending towards more of these bullet points, because it does make it easier to quickly scan and see if you like the answer. But let me ask you guys, type in chat, do you like the left response more from what you can see, or the right response more? The right response is longer. The right one also mentions more things, like it mentions TikTok Live and Mixer. So we got 1 vote for the right. I mean, I would pick either right or right because of the strong summary. It also seems like it's giving us some good options for gaming for general audience. Not for the right reasons. Yeah. So I'm going to pick B. Let's see what it is. Oh, I am a good GPT-2 chatbot. Oh, GPT-2 is this new secret one that's probably like GPT-5 or something. And then left is Cloud Opus. But they're both pretty good. It kind of depends on how verbose you want the answer to be. That's why I kind of feel like to make this fair, they should make a limitation on how long the output is. Might be a way to make it a little bit more even. But then again, if the answer needs to be long, it needs to be long. So all that's to say, what we just did there confirms what we see in the data, which is, oh, Eileen actually liked the left one. So we have one person standing out against it, but what we just saw confirmed this analysis, which is showing that the longer one typically wins. So if we're building this model to predict it, the length of the output or the differential should matter. Also depends on what they use as their training data. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what are they doing here? They're just looking at the average breakdown of if model A, B, or C wins. They're just looking at the last 3 columns here. That's all this is doing, is slicing the training data. Another way to do this would be winner model A, winner model B, and then winner tie. That's the last 3 columns. And then we could do a mean on this. Gives us the same answers as what they did here. This is just using slicing. I have a whole video about this on Pandas on YouTube. Also depends on, yeah. All right, so they're doing fold and they're creating a Deberta V3 small model. Deberta V3 is a good language model for tasks like this. We could read more about Deberta here. But when did V3 come out? I feel like I was using Deberta V2 in a lot of stuff. Do I have a release date here? (2021) Let's see when the paper was released. Last revised March 2023. Yeah, so maybe I'm just crazy. All right, so they're choosing Deberta V3. They're letting us choose the number of seeds, how to split the data, basically, and using a stratified k-fold to do the splitting. One thing I like to do is pip install Jupyter Black. See if we can load this. It'll make this code a little bit easier to read. All right, so this is just creating folds Basically, the first thing you want to do with these data sets, if you're going to evaluate the model you train on that training data set, you want to split it up into different groups, like train and validation. But by doing stratified k-fold, you can pick the number of splits you want, and then you'll have basically that many options of training and validation split. I have a whole video on that too. The stratified part ensures that the data set is split. The labels are going to be split evenly. So you're not going to have randomly one split where all the model A is picked, and in another one, all of model B's results, and another split, majority of them, the tie results. It's going to use that in incorporating it into the splits that it makes. This is really having a hard time. Oh, probably because internet. Yeah. This isn't going to work because there's no internet connection on this. So let's stop that. Stop this. Actually, just delete these. All right, so that's all it's doing here. Length join strings. Length join strings. Okay. So this is just to make a histogram. Histogram of the lengths. So this is, what are they doing here? A histogram of the length of the prompt with the length of the response A. Okay, kind of random. Training, cross-validation, and test, right? What is Jupyter Black? Jupyter Black is just a auto formatter of the code that'll run in your Jupyter instance. So every time you hit enter on a cell, then it does the auto formatting. Especially for code like this, which I find very hard to read, it would format it. So if I open up this and I set it to Python and I run Black on it, that's what the formatted version would look like. A little bit better. Let me run on this. So this is the code they have. If I run Black on this, I think it makes it a little easier to read, right? That versus this. The thing about Black is it's like unapologetic. It doesn't let you choose any settings, and it's always just standard the way it formats it, and you get used to it. Yeah, it's like Black, and then rough is also a popular one. All right, so we're going to train here. We're going to run inference, and we're going to save the model. Now they're using this sklearn feature extraction count vectorizer. Let's read about count vectorizer so we know what it does. So this is in the scikit-learn library. Scikit-learn is just full of tons of well-written, well-structured algorithms. So it's out of the feature extraction text portion of the library, and the count vectorizer converts a collection of text documents into a matrix of token counts. This implementation produces a sparse representation of the counts using SciPy sparse. So if you think about it, if each word in all of the responses that we have is accounted for, there could be like 40 or 50,000 different words, but some of them are going to occur a lot and some of them are not. And a sparse matrix allows us to kind of optimize the way that we store this data, knowing that a lot of this matrix that we have for the data is just going to be empty. If you do not provide a priori dictionary and do not use an analyzer that does some kind of feature selection, then the number of features will be equal to the vocabulary size found by the analyzing the data. Okay, so it basically saying this is going to make a matrix that's the size of all the vocabulary in our data multiplied by all of the rows that we have in the data, and it's going to do it for each of the two outputs, right? So analyzer is Word. So let's see what so they're doing two different analyzers types. See this one, I'm definitely going to like running black on this. I find this to be a lot easier to read. So we have this count vectorizer and a second count vectorizer. One is using the word analyzer. It's using n-gram range. So that's like taking groups of words and groups of just single words, groups of threes. So if a phrase like I love you occurs a lot, it will look for that n-gram and make that its own token. I'm going to need to look up what min and max df is. So this is word analyzer. Let's look at... All right, so we have these choices for the analyzer of this count vectorizer. Can be word, character, or character WB. Default is word. Whether the feature should be made on the word n-gram or character n-gram. So character n-gram would just be like 3 letters in a row that are the same. I don't think that we'd want the character one. Option character WB creates character n-grams only from the text inside the word boundaries n-grams, and the edges of the words are padded with space. So it looks like they're just throwing the kitchen sink at this problem by doing a word version and a character version. See what min df is. When building a vocabulary, ignore terms that have a document frequency strictly lower than this threshold. All right, so they're saying basically drop any word that does not... It's either the max of 0.002 or the length of the training data set. 10 divided by the length. I'm going to need to think that one through. I think it makes sense, though. Hey, Rob, really love your videos. Always learn a lot. Thank you, Matthews. Thanks for watching. Hello, I follow you on YouTube. I have a question. Every day, different types of MLM models are released. Yeah, tell me about it. Should I read a research paper on it, or should I learn how to use it? I'm new to this. I am new in this sector. Yeah, so that is something that's really been an overdrive the last 2 years, is just the amount of crazy papers and new models that have been coming out. I think generally having a good understanding of the major releases, but there also is a lot of fluff. So if you spend all your time just reading every research paper that's released, you probably wouldn't learn anything new, especially if you're new to this sector, as you said. So yeah, I think that you kind of have to learn what to ignore, if that makes sense. You guys got me? Where's my video producer thing? It's right here. If you have 1 million widgets where each has a CSV of, what does this mean? Each of test information, strength, weight, and each temp, etc. How do you put all this into a single data frame? Do you make each file or data frame or something else? Okay, so Andrew, I think you're asking a question of if the data is too large to fit in a data set, is it that it's too large? Because 1 million rows, you could fit it in a data frame. It kind of depends on the size of this different information that you have. And for me, like if something's small enough to fit in the computer's memory, then you can approach it in one way, like using pandas or pandas data frame. If it's too big to load into memory, and a lot of times this is why with deep learning, you'll have different files like images that you don't want to load every image into a pandas data frame to train your image classifier. Instead, PyTorch has and TensorFlow have data loaders that let you basically point your data loader to where all the files sit on your hard drive and what format they're in, like what structure it's in. And then when it's training the model, it's going to pull in examples at a time in batches. And if you have enough memory, local memory, you could load it all into local memory. And then usually that data loader also is taking batches and throwing that onto the GPU and then running the computation on there. That gets kind of complicated. All that's to say, yeah, if your data gets too large, typically that's when you'll see like a data loader. But loading from disk is slow. So if everything can be loaded into your computer's memory, and then you can do your computation, your algorithms from there, it's always going to be better than like reading a file each time. Rob, is it hard to run IPython and NeoVim? I'm ready to ditch VS Code. I've been using Vim motions for a while. I haven't used IPython and NeoVim. I like using VS Code, and usually I use Vim. Let's see if I have a Python. This is a IPython notebook, but yeah, I don't know. I usually just use Python notebooks if I'm doing exploratory stuff. I'll use a notebook, Jupyter notebook, Jupyter Lab. Using ChatGPT to automate the creation of academic papers about ChatGPT. Hardest part of data science is learning how to filter out the worthless crap. Yeah, these days that's kind of a lot of it. Pandas plus Dask would help. Yeah, so polars is actually, like if your Dask is a solution for if pandas cannot fit everything into memory. But Dask has not been as supported lately. And I've had bad experiences with Dask. Not to say that it's bad, just that I've had bad experiences with it. Polars does a really good job doing pipelines with large datas. But again, that's all assuming you're not working with something like image data or flat files, because then you're going to be doing something different. I'm trying to iterate through many CSVs because the vendor sends one CSV with 100 different measurements for each unit. How do I iterate through all those so I can do analytics on the data? Good question. Even though I'm a little scared that it might bring us to, it might derail us completely. Let's open up Jupyter Lab here and just show you, like, if you have a bunch of CSVs, you could import OS or import glob and then list out each of those CSVs. Let's see where I had an example. I think I might have deleted all of my big data sets off of here. Medicare data. Yeah, so this has this Medicare data. Has a bunch of different CSVs. And then we can just iterate over these, right? And we can read in each one using pandas. Call this D. And then we have a data frames list where we'll just append this with the data from each file. Does this make sense? But this assumes that you can fit everything into memory, Andrew. So if I run this, I also need to import pandas. I'm sure you could ask ChatGPT this. It would tell you something similar. See how big this Medicare data was. Oh yeah, so these are pretty large. One of these is like 30 gigs. So maybe stop this and only run it for, just to show you this as an example, I'll only run it for the first two. What's the best model for time series prediction? It kind of depends on what type of time series, Sebastian. If you're talking about like steady state, or I don't know. But I have a whole video on how to use XGBoost. If you create good time series features, it can be a pretty good model. Vim motions are not that useful for notebooks. I disagree, because within the cell, maybe not so much, but a lot of the similar motions, like with J and K, will get you up and down, and then like DD deletes a cell, B creates a cell beneath, A creates it above. These are all same things that you would use in Vim. What distro are you using? I'm just using Ubuntu 20. 4.0, I think. Can I become a good data scientist without a good communication skills? Because I hate talking to people and being around people. So hard for me. Demon. I don't know. I think a lot of big companies would consider data scientists to be someone who can communicate their results. You might find yourself more happy in a role like machine learning engineer, something like that. But it depends on how, I mean, it sounds like you hate talking to people at all. Then maybe like machine learning engineer or something more technical where you can just really focus down on the work that you're doing and less of communicating your results. Because honestly, in most roles I've been in as a data scientist, it's important. It is really important, because you could work as hard as you want on doing analysis or creating some model, and if you can't communicate it well to the right people, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. What's the secret CUDA thing you teased a while ago. What secret CUDA thing? Oh yeah, so you're talking about Rapids. Yeah, Rapids is good, but they have some issues running on Kaggle notebooks. What's my opinion of Julia for data science? Who's Julia? I'm just kidding. No, I've never used Julia for data science. I know that it's tried to catch on here for a while. It's been years of people saying Julia is the next thing. But I've never actually seen that. Okay, I'm going to go back to this Kaggle competition. We're going through this baseline notebook. I'm going to run this count vectorizer, and we're going to take a look at what some of the results look. So you're fine with making a massive list of data frames so long that you can fit it all into memory? As long as it can fit in memory, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. And then actually what I do usually is this failed because the files were corrupted. But then all you do at the end of this is PD concat the data frames together, because now this is a list of data frames. And then I think axis is 1. And then you have your final data frame here. So I do this paradigm or this structure a lot when you have a bunch of CSVs that you want to read in and just make into a single data frame. And then you could save this as a Parquet file. Ooh, Parquet files read faster. They save to disk smaller. I have a whole video on this on YouTube. Demon, I'm the same way. I learned how to build that skill a little bit at a time. Yeah, Miguel and Demon, honestly, I was never that big of a fan of communicating. And that's why I started streaming, to try to get better at it. So there are some skills that you want to push yourself to get better at. But if you absolutely hate communicating to people, that's why I'd say try to go more the technical route. Yeah, exactly. Try vanilla. Oh, I got to see your XGBoost video. Yeah, tell your friend about it. Do you ever find yourself falling into the trap of trying to do something the best, correct, right, perfect way versus just get it done all the time, Andrew? It's a real big problem to get over. Deadlines do help with that. And I feel like Kaggle competitions are fun in that way because you don't have that pressure of always doing it perfectly. You just have a metric that you're trying to optimize against, and you know how well you're doing compared to everyone else. And then you do have that set deadline. Deadlines are really important. In case of missing values, I used to see people creating a new variable, like counting the nan of each row or finding the standard deviation. So do you think about it? Is it a good idea to try when you have missing data? Yeah, for sure. It depends on the model you're using also, because a tree-based model, which is the most common type of model that you'd use for tabular type of problems, like XGBoost or Light GBM, they're going to create these trees that split your features up based on the best cut points that it determines through the algorithm. And when you have missing data, those type of algorithms can actually handle that missing data pretty well. So then you don't have to worry about creating new features, but it's always good to try and experiment in cross-validation and see what works. Have I ever used Spider? No. Long time ago, I think. Hi, Rob. What are you doing? Greetings from Chile. We voted, and people wanted to see me go into this Kaggle competition. We created a very basic baseline last week that I think scored decently. But now we're going through a public notebook where someone showed how they could get a pretty decent score in this competition. So far, if you're interested in this competition, let me just send you. Put in the chat this, which is the link to the competition on Kaggle. It's basically using this LM system LMSYS Chatbot Arena data, and you were trying to predict which LLM response someone would like more than the other. I don't know why I just reran this cell. But we're at this point where we're creating features about the data set to train, I believe, a LightGBoost model. And we're using this count vectorizer. So when you run fit on the count vectorizer, that's when it's determining the vocabulary it's going to use. And usually just want to do this on the training set. And yeah, he's training for, what is this SS? Is that the fold somehow? Looks like he's slicing this. Print the length of the count visor. Oh, it looks like we're loading these results from a pickle file. So let's look at what this looks like. So the count vectorizer, oh, that's the count vectorizer itself. So in sklearn, most every sklearn object has a fit and a predict method alongside of it. So usually you're always taking your data set and you're fitting, you take this object, which is like a preprocessor or a model or whatever it is, and you run fit. Sometimes you run transform on the data, which will transform in whatever the and then there's also fit transform, which will do both of them at the same time. And if it's a model, then it would have a predict method. But you can just easily run fit transform. And I see fit here. I don't see any transforming. Oh, because that's going to happen later. SM log. Oh man, I do not know what this stuff is doing. Transforming using V. What is V? Maybe we should just run it and try to figure out what's going on. All right, so we have our Git features. Oh, we're not training a LightGBM model. So all this stuff is kind of moot. We're not training a LightGBM model. We're going to create all of that was moot because we're going to create a Deberta v3 X small model, it looks like. We're loading this Deberta model. I want to ask, is there a fixed time for your live session like every Friday or every Monday? I haven't streamed in a really long time. So this is my first time and I've been doing this Thursday and last Thursday. So hopefully Thursdays will work well in the future. Do you think Python is necessary for data science projects or is it enough with apply vectorized function? Most of the time when you're, as a data scientist, when you're using Python, you're using something in the back end that is written in C. Oh my gosh, bug just flew in my mouth. So you don't need to use something like Python. Thank you. I'm a hobbyist at best who's become the data management guy for my group at work. That's how it starts, Andrew. That's a good start. Hey, Box. Thanks for watching. Have you come across an interesting data set recently that could be fun for regression? Just go on to Kaggle and look on their data sets. You can even just search for regression. I think that's... This is a data set that I created. Flight status prediction. So maybe look at that, Ashraf. Back to this. All right, we have our LMSYS baseline. It's now, we had read all that code for making it light GBM model, but we're not making it a light GBM model, so it kind of just skipped over all that. I'll tell you what, this code could use a lot of cleanup. I could spend a few hours without trying to stream it and just clean up this code and understand it much better. But that's part of the fun, is when you just get into the grind of like understanding everyone's notebook, being like, oh, I can do this better, I can do that better, implementing those things and seeing yourself boost up there a little bit further on the leaderboard. Because starting from scratch can be hard. All right, so now we're just using a tokenizer. We're adding these special tokens, which is prompt, response, new line. But I don't think those exist in the... Maybe new lines do and tabs do. All right, the max lane 640. Using NLTK to get the sentiment. Let's see what this NLTK is like. The main, it's like the equivalent of scikit-learn, but for natural language tasks. So let's see what the sent tokenizes. Return a sentence tokenized copy of the text. Okay, so sentence tokenization. Filter text. I have no idea what's going on here. Then making a custom tokenize function, which takes the prompt, the response, tokenizer, what is safe load? Runs it, loads it in JSON. All right, so let's see what this tokenizer does. They've pulled out an example prompt and an example response A. I guess they're just making pairs of the prompt and one of the responses and treating those separately, treating those as their own predictions. Because the target is going to be whether or not response A was chosen. Now they have this tokenize function, which looks like it does a lot of stuff, but the main thing is it takes in a tokenizer, which we've loaded in from so it's using the Deberta 3 XMall tokenizer. Basically, a tokenizer takes the raw text and converts it into numerical values, similar to that scikit-learn stuff we were looking at earlier. So when we tokenize this, this is what we get. So we get an array of numbers. They're integers. And then we get type IDs. Attention mask. There's no attention mask here, but let's focus in on what we're actually doing here with this prompt. I think it's concatenating the prompt and the response, but let's just look at this prompt. It starts with, is it unethical to work on building weapons? Then we go here, we look at the input IDs from this tokenizer, and we can see it starts with the number 1, I think, which is like the start sequence. We can look at the tokenizer to understand exactly what it's doing to convert from text to this. So if we go to vocabulary, get vocab. This vocab is basically underneath the hood what it uses to convert text into a number. It's a little bit more complicated than this, but every large language model like ChatGPT has its own tokenizer where it has different words that it'll use and convert them into numbers. And that's how the model interacts with it, right? So basically all we've done here is use this tokenizer to convert this text, this prompt and the result into this text. Let's try to reverse this just to understand how it's working. Hey Rob, what are you coding today? We're doing a Kaggle competition. Look, scroll up in the comments and you'll see it. Do you think Linux is superior to Windows for data science? I know some smart people who like Windows, so because of them, I would say maybe Windows is good now. I know there's WSL, which I guess gives you Linux on your Windows machine. I just despise Windows, but I also haven't used it in like 10 years. Except for like work stuff. Okay, so vocab. I think we can get tokens. Okay, so let's... All right, so we're going to loop through these key value pairs. If the value equals 1. All right, so this first value is just CLS. That's like a special token for starting out. Then prompt, we have this special, this is one of the special tokens that was added. So basically, this is the start token. Then we're saying the prompt is starting. And then we should get something for, is it unethical to work on building weapons? So we're just jumping through here. There's probably a better way to do this. But 269 is going to be is probably. Yeah. You see this underscore too. That indicates that there's a blank. There's a space before the is. Here's the 278. It's going to be the word it. Now I wonder if unethical is its own token. Unethical. It is. Is it unethical to work? Okay, does this make sense? We'd probably get here to a point where maybe some of these words aren't in the tokenizer, but like parts of them would be. So the token doesn't need to necessarily be a word. It could just be like a part of a word, where the model knows that part of the word, or it could be two words together. So let's see if we can get, no, all these so far is, yeah, so why don't I just do it this way? Let's take these input IDs. For ID, for I in each of these. Then we'll print ID is I. And then we're going to get the token. Is this. All right. So remember our input prompt is like this. Is it unethical to work on building weapons? Let's only run this for like the first. We'll break out of this after 50 so it doesn't run forever. I did something wrong here. Okay, so the token needs to be if it equals this value. If V equals I, yeah. What's up, Rob? What's up, Yaga? All right, so we're learning about tokenizing. Windows for gaming, Linux, Mac OS for everything else. Yeah. So we can see how it's tokenized this sentence. These are the numbers that the LLM works with. Nothing in natural language processing that a computer does the computer actually use every character for its understanding. It's always some sort of tokenization that goes on because these models understand numbers and the words need to be converted to the numbers. So we could see this text was converted to this. Is it unethical to work on building weapons? Question mark. Response, working on token weapons technology raises some ethical questions. Oh, wait, these responses are split. So that's what's going on here. There's a list. The prompt has a list. I didn't realize that. So this prompt is a back and forth between the model and the user. So we can go back to, okay, so this, then the response, this is going to be the first response to this. So that's what this custom tokenizer, I think, is doing. It's going through and it's building the text, which is both the user prompt and the responses back and forth. Hello, do you have a recommendation for certification machine learning? Maybe the Google one? I think Google has a pretty good one, or one on Coursera. Good question, though. If anyone has a better suggestion, let me know. All right, so we have the response, working on weapons technology raises some ethical questions. So actually, it goes from this question to this response. Working on technology raises some ethical questions. Weapons can be potentially, what's this little dot? What's that's going to be converted into? That's this token, 1795. So I wanted to do at one point just to see how many bullet points there were in the response, because that could help. Rafael, welcome from Brazil. Glad you're enjoying it. So if we wanted to see how many bullet points were in it, we basically would just see how many of the input IDs equals 1795. There could be better ways to do it, but. All right, so we understand how the tokenizer works here now, right? That's kind of one of the most important things for setting up this. And then this gets at what we were talking about earlier, which is loading in data using a data loader. So this is a very standard way that we work with data sets that we want to feed into a deep learning model using PyTorch. We use PyTorch's data sets. This was imported from PyTorch above. We create this data set, which basically says, how do I grab one item, one example from my training data set or test data set and load it into a PyTorch PyTorch tensor. And then we wrap that with a data loader when we're training. I did the Coursera ML specialization. It's good if you want to get your feet wet. Nice. Let's put this in here and do some formatting on it because I can't read this. So much better to have it formatted. All right. So the data set is always an object inheriting from the base data set. So this is called text data set. When you initialize it, you have to give it some parameters, which are passed as object variables. And then always you have in a data set these methods, these dunder methods, which are used in PyTorch. One is the length. You have to have the length because the data loaders are going to need to know the length of your data in order to know how, when it's batching, how far you're through one epoch of training and all that stuff. And then the other big one is this get item. And basically get item is getting your data. It could be from disk. It could be from a pandas data frame like it is here. We're passing in this pandas data frame as data and tokenizing the input and getting the results. Usually this will spit out at minimum the features and then the target. So this is a real interesting way of doing the results. 1 times winner model B plus 2 times winner item winner tie. I'm not quite sure why they did it this way. But now we can see the data set that we've created. I'm also going to use Black to auto format this. All right, so we're creating this text data set on the training data, on the validation or test IDs. And then this is on the validation data. This is on the test data, which when running this notebook on the full, when you submit it, would have the full test set. But let's look here at the train data. Now this is a data set, a PyTorch data set. And the nice thing about that get item method is we can now iterate over this. And get our results. What is this model dictionary? Did we not import this correctly? Okay, so model dict needs to be created here. So it actually needed something from lower in the code base in order to run this. But now that we have this output, we can see that we have the tokens from the tokenized prompt tokenizer for both response A and B. So that's what it's giving us. It looks like the outputs here are response prompt / response A tokenized, prompt / response B tokenized, and then this is label for A, label for B, and then this is some sort of weird label for tie. This all makes sense. We're just making a data set here. So now if we look at the output here, the first one's going to be that tokenized for model A output. The second output position is for this second one now, and then 2, this should be just a value 0, 1, 3, and 4. Why is this a 2? How could this be a 2? What's this model dictionary? Oh, so I was wrong. This is model for A, the model type, and this is model for B. And then this is, the last one is going to be 0. So let's put this down here. The last one is 0 if A wins, 1 if B wins, and a 2 if a tie. Chimichanga, thanks for watching live. All right, so that's basically why this output could give us. So there's tokenized 1, tokenized 2. This should be the model. So GPT-4 11.6 preview. The next one is GPT-4. And then the winner was the first model. So this model, GPT-4 11.06 preview, is the one that won that. Okay, so here's our model. Whew. This is a lot of stuff. So you have an MLP layer. When you're creating a PyTorch model, similar to the data set, usually you import from NN module and then you create your model. You have this init part. I think I have a whole YouTube video on this, like a basic introduction to PyTorch. Let's see if we have it. If anyone's watching this right now and they're completely confused, I tried to simplify it here in this video where I kind of just go through really quickly the different components in training a PyTorch model. So I'm going to put this into the chat. You guys can watch that. I think I also had this PyTorch live coding stream. Hey Rob, great to watch your work. Is this for the essay rating competition? No, this is the LMSYS chatbot competition where I'm trying to predict which model outputs would win in an arena style battle of large language model outputs. All right, so we're defining the model here. It's an MLP model. Let's try to do this. All right, let's see if ChatGPT can explain this to us like it's 5. I'll tell you the parts that probably stick out to me. So dropout is just a way of fighting against overfitting. So this just, when you train, the dropout is randomly going to drop out values in that layer of the neural network. When you run inference, dropout does nothing. But it simply just lets you not overfit the model to one area. This is a linear layer, which is very common. It's like a fully connected layer in the neural network. Then layer normalization is just a way of taking the outputs from that layer, because you could have like a lot of spikes in certain areas, and like finding the average value and the standard deviation and doing some normalization so they're like not so extreme anymore, because the neural networks don't like when a single value in one of the layers like gets too out of whack. So it's a way of like averaging out that layer. CELU, this is the activation function, but I'm honestly not familiar with it. More dropout. These are numbers that I usually put into like a parameter dictionary, and you could fine tune like these dropout layers. Then another linear layer. So this is kind of like a pretty simple MLP. Let's see what ChatGPT said for it. The linear layer custom neural network built using PyTorch for text classification. Let's break it down. Linear pooling extends from the module. Oh, yeah, we know that. In features, out features. These parameters specify the number of input features and the output features. What is those default? That's going to be like the max length that we saw before. So when this linear pooling is actually used. Watch this model not actually be used anywhere. Yeah, so this is like a sub-module for a feature extraction within the bigger text module model. That probably uses that DiBerta somewhere. So it's just choosing a hidden model size. This is kind of common way of within the model doing feature extraction, and these are also values that you typically will tune. So the input and output of this is 3. That's just the 3 values you're trying to predict. And the output of this head is trying to predict the model type. Huh. That's interesting. This is a lot. This is a lot to try to go over in one stream. I did not know it was going to be this complicated of a model. So this is a sequential stack of layers that has dropout, randomly selects elements at 0 out with probability of 0.01 during training time, which helps prevent overfitting. We talked about this. So fully connected layer. This is a linear layer. Can we get a visualization of a linear layer? No, I wanted actual like... This isn't going to show us it. I want to see the actual... like neurons. Yeah, I guess this kind of shows you like a fully connected layer means that there's weights between the one layer and the next layer, with weights for all the different connections. How would you move from a notebook environment to a production deployment ready code as data science? Just finished my MS in data science and understand there's still a ton to learn. Yes, Brett, great question. I typically do a lot of prototyping in Notebook, but like early on, I'll switch over. Once I'm getting into stuff like this, like beyond exploratory data stuff, I would split this actually into each having its own module, like one for model, one for the data set portion of it, and then like a training loop script. So as early on as possible, moving out of the notebook. But then for debugging, you might jump back into Notebook. I mean, it's kind of whatever works best for you. I know some people are very competent working just only in something like VS Code. I do kind of rely on notebooks a lot more than I should probably. Geez. Okay. So this is a lot of code that I'm not going to go into the detail of. This text module. Did it not? Wait, what the? What? What happened? It deleted the whole thing? Did I lose my entire notebook? All right, this is where we were trying to get the module. This model is the Deberta V3, I think. Hey Rob, it's fun to watch your work through problems and projects here, especially when you go online to search stuff. How much of this represents what data science would do at work? Do they look down upon people who search for answers on the internet? Dude, everyone searches for answers on the internet. Everyone. Even if you're like super smart and you only search the internet to read research papers to understand what you're doing, there's no looking down on people searching stuff. That being said, if you're searching every little thing, hopefully you're retaining some of that information so you can move on. Because, yeah. Good to know. I use the notebooks built into PyCharm. Yeah, I've done a similar project to normalize speech singing and then segment them into audio file. Sounds like a cool project. Git module is not defined. Did I not run this? All right, we did not run some cells. Honestly, this is like definitely at the point where we would need to move this over into some sort of a code base. Yeah. Somehow when I was running it there, that what I just ran reset this whole notebook. So let's just try to understand what's going on here. Okay, so we created the data set, we created the model, and now they're using PyTorch Lightning to do the training portion of this. PyTorch Lightning lets you do like easy logging. Also, he's putting the actual model parts into this instead of... Yeah, so it lets you do logging, tracking how your model trains. It takes care of a lot of the boilerplate code that you use often when you're training, writing like a training and validation loop. You can do some custom stuff with your forward passes and run certain metrics at the end of each training step or at the end of each epoch. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with PyTorch Lightning. That being said, sometimes if you want to do something custom, PyTorch Lightning can really be a pain. But as long as you're working within the ecosystem, it can help you out a lot. It does also handle like multi GPUs really well. You don't have to do things like like specifically making sure you've moved your model over to a specific device. Like if you have two GPUs, or if you want to run on a GPU, you don't have to specifically move things over because PyTorch Lightning will handle that for you. I have a background in data science, with about half a year of data analytics and experience. Any project you recommend for my GitHub portfolio? W, great question. The project I recommend is whatever project you find interesting. Find that job that you really want, like your ideal job, working for, maybe you're really into cereal and you want to work you want to work for Kellogg's as a data scientist because you just love cereal. Then I would say make a project where you look at some cereal data. Maybe you're really into image data and you want to do like object detection for like sports analytics. Then that would be a good project to start working on. So like really choose what you're passionate about. Think of a project you can work on, and doesn't have to be perfect. You can start with someone else's code. Just get to a point where you're you have something that you're proud of and you can put on your resume. And can I ask you something about getting a job in data science? Go for it. Trojan Mango. I can't guarantee you I can help you, but I'll try my best. Yeah, so I had skipped over this before, but this whole Git module is actually getting this PyTorch Lightning module. So let me show you. Let me show you guys an example of a PyTorch Lightning project that I worked on. All right, this detecting sleep states, I think I did. So this is how someone was asking me how I would organize my code and how I'd move out of the notebooks. So this is a Kaggle competition I worked on before with a bunch of data that we were trying to use to predict the sleep states of people based on some sensors they were wearing, like an Apple Watch-ish thing. And so this is how I organized my code. I was using TensorFlow for this, I think, because I was training a lot on TPUs. I had my augmentation features. Any of these did I use PyTorch? Yeah, so in this one I used PyTorch. This is where I created the attention model. This is where I created the data set. I created my data loader. And then just manually doing, this is all the stuff that PyTorch Lightning kind of takes the boilerplate stuff out of. Like putting these features onto the CUDA device. You don't have to worry about, and then, yeah, kind of organize it in a better way. Would I be able to get a data science row with these projects because they're not really using machine learning except for HMM and OLS? What are you talking about? What is this super long link? Like, am I going to get a virus clicking this? Okay, this second one looks a little bit more legit. I like this. I mean, for some reason that's not formatting well with my dark hide your eyes. Okay. Yeah, it's not formatting right with my dark filter, but if you wrote this, if you made this, it looks like a great project. A lot of math in there, a lot of write-ups. I don't know if this will get you in a job in necessarily the area you want to get into it, but I think you should be very proud of that. Let's turn this dark back on. It's like stochastic model, time series models, but I didn't fully study them. Dude, I didn't study most of what I ended up working in. Like, I didn't study computer vision stuff at all, and it's what I really enjoyed and did a lot of Kaggle competitions on. And then I worked helping out the NFL doing like video object detection and event detection and all computer vision stuff. So you don't necessarily have to study what you end up working with. No, it's a paper. Oh, it's a paper that you read. Try Vanilla JS. Thank you for subscribing. You know what we do when you subscribe? Spin the wheel. The wheel of destiny. Type pizza 10 times. Oh my goodness. Do I still have this? I used to have. A file where I was working with where I type pizza a bunch of times. I think I used to type it like 100 times each. And we got up to a few thousand from doing this. I also would spin this wheel every time I had a new follower. But I appreciate that sub. Very nice of you. Anyway, all that's to show you that there's a lot to learn when you get into the deep learning stuff. There's a lot to understand in terms of... It's almost too much information, so that taking someone else's code like this and trying to understand little parts of it can be a good starting part. If you a little bit cleaner code than this might be easier one to start with, a little simpler model. But just like I mentioned, like in this PyTorch video that I have, Deep Learning for Beginners, I go through like the basics of what you need to know to build a PyTorch model. So I'd recommend checking that one out. If anything that we went through today seemed interesting. All right. No, where'd I go? What do you guys think of the quality of the camera? It's really gotten a lot better. And is the chat here? Yeah, I finally figured out how to make it work. Although it's weird, if I hit record, if I stop recording, quality is going to go down. See there, it gets worse. Hit record again. Looks a lot better. Don't know why. Wait, I know the SMRP. What does that mean? What other questions you guys have? Computer vision interests me. One of my final projects was creating a CNN that detects apple varieties from user uploaded images. That's a good project. SMRP is the link I opened. It looks like you're trying to get a job in finance. I know it's really competitive, so I don't. Just try to do whatever you can to stand out. Try to work on projects you think are interesting. Those are my main suggestions for people. Have you considered data science management jobs, and do you envision that you will be a contributing data scientist? What does your career path look like? Great question. So I recently started working for a company called Dreadnode. We're kind of at the intersection of data science and ML security. So this is our website. And I joined the team pretty early on. There's just 6 of us right now as the head of data science. I would love it if my career path ends up being that we're very successful in this company and that we just kill it, which we have been so far. And yeah, then I'm in more of a manager role for the data science part of the team. So there's a way you can support us in that endeavor. If you're interested in AI security, check out Crucible. It's a completely free website we created. What it is are capture the flag challenges where we have scenarios similar to AI models that you might see in the real world that you're trying to hack or evade or do something sneaky with. And if you do that correctly, you get the flag. You can see how many you've completed. We've created these bear challenges, which are just basic introductions to ML security. So definitely a hot field right now, especially with the explosion of large language models. Everyone wants to know how to defend themselves against unforeseen attacks on their models. And there's a lot of development in this area that I don't think it's been tapped into as much as it should be. So if you want to support me in that, in my career, make an account on Crucible, try out some of these challenges. I was looking at some of the data today about people who do challenges, and there are certain people who really have been grinding through them, and I love to see that. Everyone quant trading says it's not their area, so they don't have an answer. Yeah, Trojan Manga. I don't know these details. Yeah, so support us on Crucible. If you need the link, it's crucible.dreadnode.io. Put that here. I'm tired. Time to eat some snacks and go to bed. Any final questions, comments? Many of the job postings ask for a PhD necessary for data science. I already have 8 years of experience. Yeah, the job postings are always going to list crazy stuff. But don't be thrown off by it. Never hurts to apply. What sucks is when they ask you to do a take-home assignment that takes 5 or 6 hours and you don't know if you're going to get a job. That's when you start to question, is this really worth it? Do I really want this job? But applying, if it says PhD and you don't have one, but you think you have equivalent skills, go for it. Hey, Rob, is there a Spark API for TensorFlow/Torch? What is the strategy we're making for deep learning in Databricks? Never done it in my life. I've never done it in my life. So I can't help you there. Usually the data sets I work with, even up to a few terabytes of data, you can have on one machine. You can have in an S3 bucket. You write a data loader that loads it in. When it comes down to it, you're training a deep learning model that needs to fit a batch of that data onto the GPU that you're training it on. And that's a limitation of certain number of 30 or 60 gigabytes. So I don't know if Spark API, how that would play into it, honestly. Where do you see the future of data science as a field that evolves so quickly? How do you stay up on the date on new technologies? Sometimes I feel like I'm drinking out a fire hose, especially with all the new LLM stuff. Like, I'll be honest, the NLP LLM stuff was never really my cup of tea, but it's taken over by storm, and it's just incredible the advancements that have been made, and you just have to go with it. You just have to go with the new technologies. But we talked about this a little bit earlier, Brett. Don't spend too much time reading every detail of every paper that was released every day, because you're just going to waste all your time reading papers. You got to actually do stuff. Will you be the CTO, CDO that codes every day, or you will enable your team to code? We'll see. We'll see if we get to that point. Did you study GLMs or probabilistic ML? I think to some extent. Not an expert. Definitely recommend LinkedIn Premium. Someone saying, when truly job searching, help me recruiting firm search out and help me jump ship from my old field. Okay. Yeah. I did LinkedIn Premium for a little while, and then I stopped after I was looking for the job. You're the man. Thanks for making content. First time to see a data science live stream breakdown. Hit that subscribe and like and follow and the bell notification. Then you'll hang out with me next time. Hey, Rob, how do you perform your feature engineering? Any tips? Completely depends on the data set. Completely depends on the data set. Good question, though. Checking out your channel after a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've posted on here. So hopefully new videos coming soon. Maybe next stream I can brainstorm what my next YouTube video would be. And then I can make one. I'm feeling a little bit more energy about streaming, especially since I got this camera working at high resolution. Finally. All right, guys, I'm done for the night. Thanks for hanging out. If you're watching right now, write a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, just write a comment saying, oh, this was fun, or I like this, because all the comments will push out this stream to all the other places. The blur background looks great. Thanks, Elite Warrior. If you're watching on Twitch, thank you very much for watching there. That's the place to be. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.